games with God? How many times have you heard God loves you? How many times have you heard Jesus loves you? Here we are in New Orleans, 1998, serving God. The day I am concerned what people say about me is the day I hang my megaphone up. Heaven or hell when you die, believe in Jesus Christ. Stop playing games with God. You've been playing games with God way too long. I don't know why you don't take the best deal in town. Jesus Christ dying for you, bleeding for you, rose from the dead for you, and you walk away like nothing.
All right. Hey guys, how is everybody? Next week I'll have somebody else on about Ruben. I didn't get I've got two more pieces of hardware coming to basically stabilize my internet more. They were supposed to be this morning, but like all things here in Oklahoma, it's been delayed in the mail. So when I bring somebody else on, it increases my bandwidth usage, and I found that coupled with the 100 and some odd degree temperature today is going to make for a bad stream. So I figured I would just, I was going to wait till last on the list to do this, if you will, because there's a lot of people that knew Ruben longer than me, that preach with Ruben more than me. I didn't want them to have an opportunity to talk first, but since I'm having those issues, I figured I would just do mine tonight. And before I do, I just want to announce, a lot of people have been asking about when they're going to have the funeral for Ruben, and it's going to be July 18th. Now, again, there is going to be a cap on the amount of people that come, and I'm not going to put too many details public about it. Nobody is. If you are interested and you do want to come to the funeral on July 18th, message John Williams. He's on Facebook, or message me, one of the two of us. And we will give you the details if you want to go say goodbye to Brother Ruben. There will be there is no viewing. It's just a funeral and then a repast. That's it. So, but again, if you do want to go, pay your respects and say goodbye, it is July 18th. It'll be in the morning. Doors open at 10:30. And again, I'm not going to put put everything out there. But if you do want to know, again, reach out to John Williams or myself, and we will give you all the information on that. Now, just again, I want you guys to know, we are going to move forward, and not move forward in the sense of, but we're going to continue doing the things that we do with Ruben. And I'll get to some of that, as I go through how Ruben and I met and what happened. And how we got to this point, at least for his YouTube show, and how, I became part of Ruben's ministry, if you will. Because, in all actuality, when I first got into street preaching, I didn't even know who Ruben was yet, because I was pretty new at street preaching. I had a Facebook page. I was known on social media, but that was it. I didn't do any street preaching. I mean, did I have an impact on social media? Maybe, but not to the level of, when you're out there in the street preaching. But when I did finally go out street preaching for the first time, it was a Drag Queen Story Hour. And I met a couple other Christians, and they had told me, stay away from Ruben Israel, right? They all knew who I was. And they said, stay away from Ruben Israel. The guy's a brawler. He's this, the other. And I said, I don't want to get involved with that. And, for the first year and a half, I didn't really meet Ruben. But it wasn't until Adam Bishop, actually, I should say it was John Williams. And again, I'm not going to I'm not going to take 2 hours to do tonight's video. I want to get through all the stuff at Ruben and those people who knew him first, and then we can go the normal format with the new stuff and that's going to be a couple months away to get back to that. But I really want to take the opportunity to remember Ruben, because I think he had an impact on all of us. I know he had an impact on me and my family, and I know he had an impact on a lot of people. So that's why we're doing this. And anyway, so I had met John at Muslim Day in Kentucky. I was up there and I went to preach, and we went to a pizza place afterwards for lunch, and John said, "Hey, are you you're the guy with the drag queen story hour stuff?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Would you be interested in speaking at a SOPA on how you're shutting these things down?" And I said, "What's SOPA?" And he kind of filmed me about a conference. I'm like, "Oh yeah, really cool. That's cool." Well, anyway, after that, I went back home and I was telling some local preachers there, and I said that, hey, I was asked to speak at a SOPA conference, and some of the Christians were like, "Oh, you don't want to do that." I'm like, "Why not?" They're like, "Oh, I'm going to send you a link to a video and watch that video, and you'll see why." So I says, "Okay." They sent me a link to some video. They called it a great debate, even though it really wasn't that great of a debate, and that thing had nothing to do with Ruben anyway. And I said, "I don't really see why that would not want to go." But whatever. And again, didn't give it much thought again after that, kind of just started doing our own thing again. And then I met Adam Bishop, and Adam, he had come to my house and he had seen the setup with the animals and whatnot. And he said, "You really should let Ruben Israel see this." And I said, "I heard a lot of bad stuff," but he goes, "Don't listen to what people say about him. Don't listen to people say online. They hate Ruben. They're jealous of Ruben. There's a lot of out of context clips about him." And I says, okay. And he says, "Ruben's a good guy. I really think you should meet him with everything you're doing and what he has done and what he is doing. I think the two of you guys getting together would be a good idea." So I says, "Oh, okay. I guess I'll, look out for the opportunity to do that one of these days." So then there was a drag queen story hour happening in Huntsville, Alabama. And Adam called me or messaged me, I can't remember which one. And he says, "Ruben's going to be there. You need to go." I said, "Okay." I told my wife, "Hey, we're going to go to this Huntsville, Alabama drag queen story hour. There's going to be a lot of Christians there. And let's go." And my wife came with me on that preach, by the way. I actually watched the Ruben Israel movie prior to that event because I wanted to know who he was. So I watched that movie, and then I started looking at other clips, and then I went back and looked at some of the original video from which those clips were taken. And I realized these people that told me to stay away from Ruben were wrong. They were dead wrong. None of those things that those people said about Ruben, if you actually go back, and you watch his videos and you listen to him and you read his blogs and everything else, Ruben is not anything what the haters claim he is. Now, I do find it pretty funny, though, that all the people that claim Ruben was hateful and bigoted and mean and all these other things here are the same people with the most disgusting, vile comments, reveling over the fact that he's no longer with us. I have never seen such, so many people that claim to be loving that, they talk about how, you can't rebuke the sinner in such a harsh manner and calling them perverted and wicked. But, when a man passes away, it's good riddance. I have never seen, so many Christians people who call themselves Christians who, hate on street preachers, hate on Ruben, and say half the things that they say. It's absolutely vile. But anyway, so, I watched the videos, I watched the clips, and I'm looking at this going, this guy is not who these people say he is. Not at all. So I go to Huntsville, Alabama, and I go out there. It was me and my wife, Michael Straight, his wife, Eric Painter came out there with us. It was, everybody's out. Ruben was out there. JK was out there. Who else was? I think JR was out there. It was a whole bunch of people. And we went and preached at an event. Now, Ruben didn't get a chance to talk a lot at the event, but I got to watch how he worked with police at this event. And I was like, huh. And that's the one thing I always wanted to learn, because whenever I preached prior to meeting Ruben, I'd call the police one out, but I never had a relationship with police like Ruben has. And if you've never met him, if you've never preached with Ruben and seeing how, this guy was the master of negotiating with the police, Ruben. He can get a cop that's ready to arrest us for being somewhere to just simply saying, well, turn down a little bit. And it was just amazing to see. And I was like, wow. So I got to watch that first, but then, he's like, okay, well, if you're not going to let us do this, then we're going to do this. And, I had my bullhorn at the time, and he goes, hey, brother. Now, again, he didn't know my name yet. And he goes, would you be willing to go across the street and stand in front of the crowd with your bullhorn pointed at him and preach? I said, absolutely. So I said, yeah. I walked across the street, and I stood in front of the crowd, and I put my bullhorn in, and I preached. And, of course, within like 3 minutes or whatever it was, I got yanked out and got a citation. That was my very first citation preaching. And it was when I was with Ruben. Go figure, right? Ruben actually bragged about that and said, hey, this is Brother Rich getting his first citation. And something that most Christians, most preachers would avoid at all costs. Most preachers would go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got a ticket. I got this. Ruben would always turn those things into a good thing because, we always preach about, being hated and being persecuted, but we're not really ready for those things. So when it happens, the Bible says we should rejoice in that. We should know that we're blessed when these things happen. And Ruben really did. When Ruben was arrested, or one of the preachers got arrested, Ruben would rejoice over that and say, we should rejoice. You go to jail, now you start your jail ministry. You get a citation that's supposed to happen. So, I really got to see who he was, on that. And then, so we preached that for a while. Obviously I didn't go to jail or anything. I just got a citation. But after it was over, we went out. It was a huge group to lunch. I have the picture. You know what? I actually have the picture of that preach. Let me find it here. Because there was a lot of us there. You guys would probably like to see that. There it is. Nope, that's not it. Where is it? Nope, that's not it. That's not it. Thought I had it. There was a lot of us there. We had so many people there. We had to somebody stay way back, and it really looks tiny in the picture because there's so many of us there. But anyway, we went out to lunch. We took up the whole room. There was so many of us there. And, Ruben and I really got to talking. And we sat there for like 2.5 hours talking. And he said, hey, after it's all said and done, he goes, hey, brother, can I come to your house tomorrow for lunch? And I said, okay, let me ask my wife. I said, Amanda, Ruben wants to come for lunch because she's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And by the way, my daughters were there too, right? Julie and Brielle were there too that day. So they met Ruben the same time I did. And she said, yeah, sure. So we go, okay, great. A couple hours go by, we part ways. And the next day, Ruben shows up at my house. Ruben, John, Larry Kraft, I think, and Manny show up. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was. And he's like, hey, brother, what do you want to do for lunch? I said, we'll order some pizza or something like that. He says, okay. So he says, show me around. So, okay, we were literally walking on my farm. He's looking at all the animals. He's looking at the yard. He's looking at the pens and everything else. And he's like, this would be a good place to do SOPA, like a SOPA, which is what Adam Bishop kind of hinted at to begin with, that this would be a good place to do SOPA. So he touched on it, and I said, I'm sure we could do something. We have an extra building back there we're not using. The original plan was to use one of the buildings in their property that was empty. We weren't using it for anything. And I said, yeah. And my wife said, sure, because it's a lot of work. So I make sure the wife's okay with everything. And you said, yeah. So he comes inside and he goes and he starts talking about his YouTube show. And he said he really wanted to do a show. He's been talking about it, but he knew I had one. I guess he had watched it, saw how I did it as far as the formatting goes, intro, outro, that kind of thing. And he says, can you show me what do you do? And I said, sure. And I took Ruben, I took him upstairs to where I was doing my videos, or I had my desk and all that stuff. So if you see the one picture of Ruben, and he sees me like this, got the headphones on, he's sitting in front of 3 computer monitors, that's actually my house. That was the first picture he took, and that was, he did a live video to promote saying, hey, we're going to do this show. But the picture, we snapped a picture of him at my desk as he had his hands up like this, doing, talking, promoting his future show. So I'm showing him, hey, I'm showing the computer layout, the monitors, and obviously I have a much more streamlined thing now than I did back then. But Ruben he was like, I showed him the software, linear software, editing software here to do this and do that and blah, 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 blah. And he's looking at me, he's just going, can you just do it for me? And I said, I wasn't quite sure how to do it. And I said, yeah, I think I can do that. We'll figure it out. And we went downstairs and fellowship for a while with John and everything else, and for a few hours, and he held the baby goats and everything else. And my daughter Lillian, instantly fell in love with Ruben. And let me tell you something about Ruben that, a lot of you guys didn't get to see a side of Ruben that those of us who are close to him got to see. But Ruben, whenever there were children around, he just smiled. He was very cognizant of children. He loved, hugging the kids. He loved talking to them, and when Lily was there, he said Lily had a smile that nobody could say no to. And I said, this is amazing. Look at how gentle he is with around my wife, with the kids. Cause you remember we had 7 kids at home. Look how he is, he's very just, again, I can't describe it. I have a meme that we made once where it had a picture of a bear growling, going, "Roar," how the world sees me. And the other one is how people that know me see me, and just him waving. That literally epitomizes who Ruben Israel, right? Those who knew of him, who may have seen his videos, who didn't know him personally, saw him as this roar, bear screaming ready to pounce and devour somebody. But those of us who knew him knew as he was just a guy that would wave hi. But he said, Lily, nobody could say no. So Lily said, oh yeah. And she said, can I have one of those little Bibles, one of the preach Bibles? And he sent her one in the mail after that. So, after that, we started putting together a show. We started talking like all the time as we're repairing things. John Williams is, helping, getting whatever Ruben needs. And, Ruben says, let's fly you out to Los Angeles and set up the computer and set everything up to make sure we're good to go. I said, okay. So John actually bought my plane ticket to go out to LA. I'm like, oh, wow, cool. I got to go to Los Angeles. And we got to Los Angeles. They paid for the Airbnb for me. And I think Johnny Diaz came down. I forget who else was there. There's 4 of us. But anyway, we got to LA, and Ruben, always looking for an opportunity to preach, goes, hey, let's go over here. And, we said, we're here. Let's go look for an abortion clinic. So we did that. We went to the abortion clinic, and then at night we held up the big Jesus signs. And he has a video of that. I have a video of that. I have to share it with you guys later. Holding up the big Jesus letters over the freeway there. So this is my first time ever really working with Ruben, that I got to see him, how he operates, and really work with him on an individual level. And I enjoyed it. I loved every minute of it, because again, he's very different when he's out in the street preaching, because it's business, right? It's all business. And I don't mean business in like, oh, the church is business. And I say that because I know how the critics take things out of context, but we're out there, we have a job to do, and that's what Ruben's focused on. That was it. Go out there, you hold the banners up, you hold the signs up, and that's it. But again, we outside of that, sitting down with him, having lunch. I mean, we went to an In-N-Out, and because I had never been to In-N-Out before. So I mean, he even sent my wife a picture saying, "Hey, look, Rich is eating In-N-Out." And my wife's like, "What is that? We've never heard of it before." So we go to sit down, we order food. We're sitting outside, and Ruben blesses the food, and he yells really loud so that everybody can hear him. After he blesses the food, he says, "And Lord, forgive these heathen for not thanking you for their food." And I just looked and saw these nurses behind us go, "Oh," I guess there's 3 nurses, and they snapped up real quick as he yelled it out. I was like, wow, that was pretty funny. So we did that. We set up the show. We set up his computer, whatnot, got everything working. I sent him a microphone, sent him all that stuff there. And that was it. Then I came back to Tennessee, and we started doing a show. But it was really after that I started talking to Ruben at an individual level. We started talking on a regular basis outside of preaching. And I came to respect Ruben and love him as a brother, not just like a spiritual brother, but I really did, Ruben was he was my friend and he was my brother. And, we talked almost every day. When every preach Ruben was on, I went with him. I had to go. I mean, I wanted to learn because, again, I was still new. I have no problem conceding that. I was new to street preaching. I had a lot of success in shutting down drag queen story hours, sure. But a lot of that wasn't necessarily because of the preaching. A lot of that was because we did after the preaches. The preachers just kind of brought attention to the issue with some of the videos we shot. But, I was very, very green with some of this stuff. I mean, it's not hard to get in a bullhorn, but, to refine that and to hone that, to work with police, to work as a team, not just try to jump in and stuff like that. Ruben really kind of developed that, with me as I was going along. And, so I went to every preach and, every time I could get an opportunity to go out with him, I would go preach to them. I started doing the big events with him. It was, I thoroughly enjoyed working with him because, you go out, I was in the military and, when you go out with a guy like that, you understand rank and you understand the hierarchy of general and captains and, and the way Ruben carried himself, he was a general. He knew what he was doing. He was very like, this is the way it's going to be. That's it. And it worked. You could say what you want about him, but it worked. I mean, he goes out there, the police are shaking his hand. The police, even though they don't like him, they have a lot of respect for him. And he started teaching me some of that stuff. And, I remember the first time I went to a preach where I had my own team of guys without Ruben. And the first thing, this was something Ruben taught me. Okay. Ruben taught me, I said, we walk in this place, we own it. Okay. We don't move for nobody unless, whatever. I said, we are taking this ground. That's it. And we went in there and we stood right in the middle of the park. And, hey, one person talks to the cops, everybody else just kind of go up to the side. I'll deal with that, because Ruben had kind of taught me how to do that. So of course we go preaching and they said, we got a permit. And I said, show me the permit. I've got no permit. I don't believe you. I said, show me the permit. We'll gladly move. Not a problem. So, the police came over and I said, officer, I have no problem moving if they have a permit. They say they have a permit, but these people tend to lie. So, I asked the officers to make a permit. And as it turns out, they didn't have one. And they were so mad, whatever. And the cop's like, I can't do anything. Had I met Ruben, I might have just believed them and said, oh my gosh, okay, well, they have a permit, let's move. But Ruben really taught me how to, hey, let me see the permit, but do so in a way that's not just like in your face like a jerk, if that makes sense. There's he really developed those skills, in how to talk to police and how to, kind of get what you want. But, and again, it's not something we can talk about publicly, but how he did it. But, there's a right way and a wrong way. You can actually talk yourself into getting arrested. You guys can ban the hate. I mean, you see what I'm saying? These guys are, they call themselves Christians. You see what they say? Just ban them off of here. There's no reason, again, Ruben wasn't a big fan of banning, but if you're going to do like that, just get him out of here. Whoever's a mod in here, I can't, you guys can just get rid of these guys. But anywho, so you learn how to talk to police in a way that, shows authority, but not in a way that's going to land you in jail for being a disrespectful jerk. And Ruben was really good at that, and he taught me that really. If nothing else, he taught me that really, really well. And nobody's ever going to do that. Like he was the absolute best at that. But, again, beyond that, when it comes to the personal stuff, Ruben became one of those guys, there's only a couple of guys that I would ever go to for counseling. And Ruben was one of them. When things would happen, if I had questions about things, and I need someone to talk to, Ruben was the guy. And Ruben, his phone was always available. He was always there. When I went to jail the one night, you remember for, that guy, that fake pastor that was cheating on his wife, the guy Sherman, he had me falsely arrested. I was actually doing a video. Call with Ruben when the cops came and arrested me. And they were really cool about it, the cop. But anyway, I went to jail that night and I was out the next day. But Ruben was on the phone with my wife the whole time, just making sure, hey, listen, he's okay. Ruben had somebody that he knows that talks to the police, talks to the, whatever. and figured it out and said that hey, he's going to get out here. He knew exactly what was going on. So even when I was in jail, he took the time to calm my wife, make sure my wife was okay. Hey, he's getting out soon. And again, it wasn't like a big deal getting arrested, but still, wives and how things are. So again, these are things that he did for the brethren that some of you may never know. When somebody got locked up or someone was in jail, they got ticketed. Ruben was on the phone right away. Ben, what's going on? How did this happen? Let's call a lawyer. Let's do this. Let's do that. A lot of the stuff behind the scenes that you guys may not have known about him that I can say, that I knew. So you guys are fake out of the First Amendment if you're going to block some people from speaking. There's a big difference between blocking you and you being a scumbag from a YouTube channel and blocking you from speaking in a public street. But anyway, he's very, very different than what, again, people know of Ruben, and a lot of people think that they're the experts, right? Oh, Ruben used to talk about how I learned a lot about himself. He learns a lot of himself by looking on the internet. I'm in this, I'm in that. And most people that said that stuff don't even know the guy. Don't even know him. There's a lot of people that think they know Ruben, and especially now that he's passed away. You'd be surprised to see how many people said, "Oh, Ruben was my best friend," that couldn't stand the guy, that would literally slander him behind his back. And now because he was training there for a while, and people are saddened by the news and everything else. Just like anything else, they act like he's their best friends, anything else, and. You find that here. And Ruben would just laugh at these people. Ruben didn't care what people said about him. He genuinely didn't care. We would always laugh about it. He's like, whatever. And we found it comical. And because, it's just, if I can't really... It's hard to tell you about Ruben without, because a lot of people, they want to go to the videos and whatnot. But those of you who followed even his show here, one of my goals when I did Ruben's show for him, when I was doing this, was I wanted to show people the side of Ruben that they don't get to see on a regular basis. The guy that sat down in front of his camera, he gave the news, he gave his teaching, and then he would answer questions. And the thing Ruben wanted to say is he's here, right? Go ahead, ask your questions. He's live. Ask him anything. He didn't shy away from questions. He didn't say, don't ask me that question. He's going to go ahead. So, one of the things I want to do is to show people Ruben Israel, who you may not know who he is. Because Ruben was, Ruben, when he came to his brethren, when it came to people who are repentant, there are videos everywhere of him, hugging people, whispering to them, praying with them. I mean, people literally crying crying as Ruben's praying for them, leading them to the Lord. It's just, it's amazing. How people didn't know him, but yet everybody wants to be the expert. I got to know Ruben really well, and we became very close to him, like a brother, in the last few years of working with him. If you knew him, hold on one second. I'm going to make some mods in the channel real quick. So I want to find a clip of Ruben that I have. While I go and do that real quick. Again, by the way, these people call themselves Christians. Remember that. All right. I'll be right back.
But as Christians,
you're not a Christian.
Do we not have a responsibility?
You're not a Christian.
Do we not have a responsibility?
Yes, to preach to them and tell them.
To stand together.
To tell them.
And preach to these children in love.
This is very
not
loving.
In hate.
My brother was very loving.
Not loving, sir.
My brother was very loving.
An act of hate.
No.
And there is no hate in Jesus
Wrong.
Christ.
Wrong.
So, sirs, I rebuke you.
It's not working.
I
We're still
rebuke
standing.
you in
It's
the
not
name
working.
of Jesus.
It's not working.
I rebuke
Not
you
working.
in the name of
It's
Jesus.
not working. My name is Ruben Israel. I live in Los Angeles. I am a Christian, and I'm known what's called a street preacher. Born and raised in Los Angeles. And so we enjoy the beautiful weather that God has given this part of the country, and we take advantage of it. I live in a city that has a large population, the second largest in our nation, and so we take advantage of the area that we live in. This particular banner, we just came back from Mardi Gras.
Okay, that's done. I made a couple of mods on there. And that there. So, and when you want to ask questions about Ruben, fine, I'll answer them because again, everybody has the record. Everybody has the goods on Ruben. Look, I just want to say, as somebody who has known him, who heard about him, prior to meeting him, I heard a lot of things about Ruben as well. But when I got to know the guy and I actually looked at the full videos, he's not who the critics say he is. And not that it matters, Ruben doesn't care anyway. But I just want to show, the impact he's had on me and my family. When he passed away, Lillian cried. She said Ruben was her favorite person. So he was a very, he would always, like, what you guys don't know is, Ruben would always talk to the kids, send messages. He would send, snacks to the kids. I would send him like ice cream on his birthday with DoorDash him like strawberry ice cream. Like, oh, you like the pink ice cream? Kind of, picking on him a little bit. And he would send like snacks to my kids. He would send lollipops. Whenever he came, he'd bring lollipops for him, stuff like that, They would always send videos saying, hi, Ruben, how you doing? Say picture of the kid. He always say hi to the kids every night when we do our videos. This is a Ruben you guys never met. Very big in the family. Of course, he loved his family. He loved his personal family, biological family, and he loved his Christian family. I wish those of you who didn't get to meet him had a chance to meet him. But those of us who continue to preach, those of us who are still here, who have taken the things that Ruben has taught us, we're going to continue our ministries, and we're going to continue preaching, and we're going to take all those things that Ruben gave to us, all those things that Ruben taught us, and we're going to use them in our ministries like we did before. Ruben was probably I used to talk about the time that he is the patriarch of the modern street preaching movement. He always kind of like, okay, whatever. But he was. And he's probably the greatest street preacher of all time, with the exception of Jesus Christ and the apostles and whatnot. But, he probably, when it comes to street preachers, he probably was. Arguably, I'd say he is, and I'd argue that all day long. I don't think anyone's going to hold a candle to what Ruben has done. He used to, at the time, he's plowed this field. Over 40 years preaching. The cases that he's won for free speech to allow on the sidewalks and whatnot. He was there, and he fought those things. And one of the things is, are we going to say, one of the things that, and I want to leave you with this he always said, what are we going to do? Are we going to squander what he did on those sidewalks? Are we going to squander the opportunity to go out in the street and preach? Are we going to squander all the victory? Because again, we have victory today, but we are literally one generation and one judge away from losing it all. We need to continue the fight because, even before I had met Ruben, one of the things that LifeSite News told me, LifeSite News told me was American, because they're a Canadian news company. And they said Americans are losing their free speech rights, and not because they're being taken away, it's because we're surrendering them. We're giving them up. We're losing them because we refuse to exercise our First Amendment rights. And churches and Christians today, everybody wants victory, but nobody wants to fight. Ruben was willing to go out there and fight. He's willing to take a bottle to the head. He's willing to take a punch to the face. He was willing to go out there with nobody else. He's willing to go into the enemy camp. Christians always talk about, we're going to hell's, the gates of hell. Ruben, no, you're not. Ruben, have you ever been to an event, one of these events, whether a pride event, abortion clinic, one of the many, and Ruben did a lot. You guys have no idea. He did a lot of preaching. A lot of stuff you'll never even know about. But we are actually cataloging all the events he's done. Trying to get the yearly events so we can keep track of them, putting them on the websites to make sure that either I can go or somebody can go, or that they're covered somehow, some way by other preachers, to make sure nothing gets skipped a beat. Make sure we don't want people to go, whew, Ruben Israel's not here anymore. No. We're going to continue preaching. We're going to continue doing the things that Ruben did. We're going to continue to go out there. We're not going to lay down. We're not going to sit back. We're not just going to go, okay, guys, time to take a breather now. No. We're not going to just squander the field that was plowed for us. We need to remember that, and I think it's a disservice to Ruben or any of the early Christians for us to sit in our churches and sing Kumbaya while people are dying, going to hell. While people are, this year alone, there has been so much nudity at pride events, you have no idea the level of depravity. It is getting worse and worse every year. Last year was bad. This year, you got dudes walking around with their junk hanging out. We had a woman in Amarillo, Texas, with an anal butt plug in her butt, walking in front of children. Okay, and I have a video, and I'm going to be putting that video out here soon, not on Ruben's channel, obviously, but I'm going to be putting on Rumble here soon, once I'm finished editing it. And they're doing this in front of children. In New York City, drag queens marching saying, we're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children. And yet we're still going to sit here and argue over once saved, always saved, over whether, I like this guy's method. Who cares? Part of the reason you have the ability to go on the street without being hassled some places is because of the work that Brother Ruben and those early guys did. Okay? He's been to court, he's been to jail, other countries, he's banned from Canada. And some of us that know Ruben, we've heard him say this, maybe some of you haven't, but he said all the time, he often wonders, did I push these guys hard enough? Was I hard enough on them? Because Ruben wasn't an idiot. He knew that, none of us are going to live forever. He knew that. And he would talk about how when he'd go over there and he went to, John Wesley's church, how it was lesbians now. He went to, who's the guy, the Calvinist that they call the Prince of Preachers? What's his name? Not Sproul. I can't remember his name. It's homos now, talking about, make sure you guys are, tolerant and everything else. And he looked back and he said, these were men of God, whether you liked them or not, that did something, and really helped the society and the culture around them. They stood for holiness. They were bold men who stood up for what they believed in. And yet, where are they today? The Methodist Church is Wesley's founding. They're founded in John Wesley. John Wesley returned to his grave if he saw what the Methodist Church was today. So Ruben always said, when he's gone, what are we going to do with what he has done? And again, he's not trying to make it himself. But he did leave behind a legacy of teachings for us. An example, Paul said, imitate me like I imitate Jesus. And Ruben imitated Paul as Paul imitated Jesus. Okay? So are we going to squander these things? In a generation from now, is anybody going to be on the streets anymore once these older guys are gone? What's going to happen? Because I'm 47 years old. I'm considered one of the young ones in this group, and I'm not young at all. There are other, Charles Spurgeon, thank you. There are younger street preachers out there, don't get me wrong, but not as many as we need to replace what's going to be leaving this world, What are we going to do? I know it's easy to talk right after somebody dies. We're saddened by it and Ruben made the post about, but after 2 weeks, the laughter comes back, after a few months, and all these things here. And I'm not saying we need to sit there and we need to talk about Ruben every day, but we should remember what, the lessons that he taught us. And we should take advantage of the things that he fought for so that we can continue to preach in the sidewalks, because if we don't do it, it's all going to be for nothing. We are literally one generation away from losing everything. And we're not even that far. I don't even think we're one generation away at this point. Ruben and I would say, when we would go out together, when we would preach, and it would just be him and I left, you know, we would sit down and Ruben would have his Bible at the table, and we would talk. You know, and he would talk about, you know, a couple of times he's talked about, you know, what's going to happen when he's not here. Who's going to do what, who's going to do this, and who's going to do that. And, you know, it was something that was on his mind. You know, we unfortunately, we had plans to shoot some video, you know, back before Jed had passed away last year. And then, you know, we wanted to do it before Ruben passed away, but Oklahoma was too hot. And Ruben said he wanted to wait till when we started talking about it again, said he wanted to wait till it wasn't 100 degrees here and then come here and start shooting videos. You know, so one of the things, you know, that we want to do is shoot video of him and like Glenn and Jim and Jed. I mean, obviously Jed passed away at that, you know, before we first talked about it, but he wanted to shoot a video about different topics like how to deal with police. Now I know he's done it before, but he wanted to give very specific pointed videos so we have them. So when these guys aren't hearing them, we can learn something from them so that their wisdom is still here, preserved. And we never got a chance to do that. We were going to put it up there. We're going to put it on the site. We're going to categorize, and we're going to put it behind some way, whether it be a paywall for $1 just to vet people, because again, it's not something that we wanted to give to the general public. Some of the things that we do, some of the tactics we use are not meant for the public to learn, because if you give everything away, then they know what we're going to do and it doesn't work anymore. And Ruben was very good about keeping things and only giving certain things to trusted people. But he did want to have those videos. He did want to have them up there, not on public, not on YouTube. But he did want to make those with those other guys. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to get, you know, there's a machine I want to get where we can convert the VHS to a digital format, directly from VHS to digital. You know, to get all that. I asked Glenn. Glenn's got some. Jim's got some. I know Kevin Deegan's got some. But I'm going to be trying to get all those and really work on digitizing all the stuff from the 80s and 90s from all of these guys so that we can have them, so that we can look back and remember what they did to get us to this point here. We have to learn from history, even our own history as preachers. We cannot allow, you know, the things that these men have done, you know, in their 40 plus years of preaching to be squandered and wasted away. Just because Ruben's not here doesn't mean, oh, well, I guess not here, we can't go preaching. If you only went out to preach because of Ruben, then you idolize Ruben, and that's not something that's okay in Christianity or something that Ruben want either. Ruben rebuke you for that. It's amazing. So I just wanted to talk about how, you know, Ruben and I met, and the impact he had in my life is learning how to work with police, how to talk to police. He loved my family loved him. And, you know, I'm going to continue in what I do and incorporate, you know, another thing is, so, you know, just to show you the impact Ruben has had. Some of you guys watched the preach when David and I were down at South Padre Island. And, you know, they had put a speaker behind us to try to drown us out. So Dave and I said, well, if they're going to do that, let's go across the street right in their faces. There's enough room on that sidewalk we could stand there and just point the bull right in front of the line of people and just bam, blast them. And say, hey, we will move if you take the speaker away. And that's what we did. And that's something, and you watched the video and said, that's a Ruben Israel move. And we called Ruben after and said, Ruben, we did that, you know, that's one of the things you taught us, you know, how to do, like, and he just laughed and he said, ha ha, did it work? And I said, yes, and he just laughed, you know, that Ruben laughed, and all that. So those things that Ruben taught us, we incorporate those, and the effect that it has, we own those streets. We street preachers, we own those streets because, you know, we represent God on this earth. We are God's representatives on earth. We own those streets. We own, you know, we go into a town, we own that town. Okay? We own it. We take this back for Jesus Christ. That's what happens when a guy like Ruben showed up. And Christians hated him for it because they have no taking of anything other than people's money. And by the way, I'm not against giving, and neither was Ruben. But what are you doing with it? If you're worth $100 million, and you're not doing anything, I mean, what good are you? But these are the impacts that Ruben had on me and my family and my life and my ministry. You know, I don't proclaim to know everything yet. I'm not an expert in street preaching. I know what to do at when it comes to like pride events and drag stores and abortion clinics, sure. But there are other events I still have to go and, really sharpen some of those skills on. And I'm going to do that because we're going to go back. I've been watching a lot of Ruben's old stuff. My wife's been reading so much of his blog material. Ruben wrote a lot. And I don't know if you guys realize how much he actually did put his thoughts down. But he did a lot. He poured his heart out a lot. More than most people realize. I would recommend going on the website and reading that stuff. And learning from him. Learning from the things he talked about everything. Except for tactics, of course. But the impact he's had on me, the things he's taught me, it made me want to be a better preacher. I was very rough around the edges when I first met Ruben. And I still got, look, I'm not perfect when it comes to street preaching. I know what to do and a lot of things there, but I'm no Ruben Israel, and I will never, ever, I don't think anyone's ever going to be a Ruben Israel, that's for sure. But I'm going to do my best to take what he taught and incorporate it even more. So I would recommend everybody to go back, watch some of his older material, watch some of the older preachers, watch his Bible, listen to the things he says. He says what he says for a reason. Go read his blogs on the Official Street Preachers website. And for those of you, and I'm not even going to dignify, the stupid stuff people said. I'm just simply saying that I thought it was funny that a lot of these Christians that claim Ruben's hateful are the ones that are literally glorifying in his passing. I've never seen people that claim to be loving do that before. And all I keep thinking of is the verse that talks about hating your brother. Christians hate other Christians. They rebuke. It's funny because they say things about the way we rebuke sinners, but they rebuke us the way we rebuke sinners, and then claim that we're doing it wrong when they do that exact same thing to us. It's a bunch of hypocritical nonsense. That's all it is, and I just want to point that out, that the people that claim to be loving are the least loving people on the planet. The LGBT groups that say they're loving, they're not loving. The people that want to reach out, befriend them, and say that they're loving, we're not unloving, we're doing it wrong, go look, if you can tolerate it, some of the god-awful things that these people are saying. Delighting in the death of another brother. Saying things to a brother they would never say to a sinner, thus making them murderers in God's eyes. And we know that, whatever, but... And I'm not going to address him again because Ruben wouldn't have that. And that's one thing I'm working on more and more, is just ignoring the haters even more. Because before I met Ruben, my first thing was to go back and punch back, if you will. Not physically, of course, but talking about, the social media stuff. And it's one of those things that Ruben worked with me a lot on. It's one of those things he worked a lot with me on is, who cares? Because I always had this thing where I felt I had to defend myself because some of the stuff that was, even Ruben said that, some of the stuff that said about me, never seen people act that way. Not one person act that way towards somebody else. But he really taught me, who cares? Because if people believe the lies and slander, what others say, if they actually take their time to do this, and people believe, do you want them with you anyway? And I'm like, well, not really. So if people that go and run to gossip and all these things, are you really that concerned with having them on your team? Are these guys going to stay with you? Because you know what? They'll stab you in the back tomorrow. And he's 100% right. He's 100% right. And it's one of those things where I've learned a lot and I've come a long way on that. Because you got to remember, I did have a social media ministry first. And that's kind of how social media works. But Ruben has pulled me away from that. You know, and that's what it is now. So we have to keep our eyes forward, not this side, not that side, not behind us. The critics are going to come. They're going to say whatever, but don't let them scare you. Don't let them intimidate you. Don't let them, you know, lie about you to keep you from going out there and preaching. Okay? Because look at all the things that Ruben has done. All the free speech cases he's done. He shut down the Muslim event in Dearborn, Michigan. They don't even have it anymore. Shut the whole thing down. And you can't see that that's the fruit of a man anointed by God? God working through him. Look at the legacy. Look at the men and women whose lives he's impacted. Look at the people who've gotten saved through his ministry. Even though he's not here to come on here every week and, you know, tell us, you know, hey, talk about these things, and we're still going to move forward as Christians, every one of us. Just take what Ruben taught us and incorporate it and go out there and preach. Take back those sidewalks. Again, we're going to have all these events. Amanda is putting them together now. She's trying anyway. She's putting them together to try to catalog all the events that he did. Now, some of them he would just go out there with a banner and just not even say a word. He would just go. He did a marathon, and he would just stand there. He wouldn't even say anything. These are things you guys never knew. So we are going to have we're trying to get a calendar put together to have these events. So I would honestly, you guys, keep checking back the website. It's not going away. We're going to have those events there so that you guys can check it out. I want to incorporate a newsletter into there so that if there's an event coming up, at least those who are interested, I can send it out and you guys can know and plan accordingly. All the events Ruben did, because I can't do them all. No one of us can do all of them. You know, I don't even live in California, so there's a lot of people in California who go out there and do them. I know Ruben's guys will still do them, but we can go out there and help them when we can. We can go out there and preach with them when we can. You know, you got Atlanta, Georgia. You got Dick Christensen down there. You know, we can go down and help Brother Dick. You still got Phoenix, Arizona. Ruben did that one there. He's got Salt Lake City. Went out there for the Mormon Conference, which I will be doing that. Those conferences, I'll be going out there. Both conferences now. I've made it a point to do that. The Salt Lake City Pride event, I'm gonna try my best to go out to that one every time, but that one will be covered no matter what. So there are things that we have to keep doing. So keep checking the website, officialstreetpreachers.com. And we're gonna put this up there. So if you guys want to preach, hopefully within the next 6 months, we'll have all that stuff there. And again, I'm not making any promise that it's gonna be done tomorrow. These things take time. Because each one of us has our own ministries. Each one of us has, things that we do. There are numerous people here, John Williams, myself, the guys that are working on his website. I don't know if they want to be named publicly. That's why I didn't. But, we're trying to get the police that he worked with, those names and all that stuff. So we have them to coordinate with people. So we're trying. We're working on it. And we're going to keep moving forward. So thank you. I just wanted to come on here and talk about how I met Ruben, the impact he's had on me. Next week, I'm going to have hopefully either JK or Weber on to talk about Ruben with them. And then, obviously Kevin Deegan, some other brothers and sisters, because I really want to make sure people know who Ruben was, the impact he's had on us, and hopefully to inspire others to get out there and preach. Maybe if you haven't preached yet, to go out there and preach. To stand on that sidewalk and let's take our country back for Jesus Christ. Any questions? I'll open up for questions and answer what I can. How old was Brother Ruben when he first started preaching? I don't know. Probably 20 years old, maybe. Had 21 years old, something like that. He was kind of young. You go back and look at the videos. He was young. Did you say you were in Oklahoma? Yes, I am in Oklahoma. People asking, did Ruben get the jab? No, he did not. Some people know what he passed away from. Kidney failure. Ruben was born. He had a lot of health issues. He made no bones about that. He didn't hide that fact. Had I think one functioning lung, had a bad heart. He had a catheter put. So it's not like Ruben was, he was born with a lot of health problems. But the fact that, even Ruben was surprised he made it to 62 years old. He was surprised he made it that long. So yes, Alan, if you look, I have a case in the Supreme Court right now from somebody who got a restrainer against me for posting scriptures that they didn't like. They deemed scripture threatening, and a judge threw a 5-year restrainer on me, and it's in the Oklahoma State Supreme Court now. Like, they kept it there. They didn't kick it back down to the Civil Court of Appeals. They kept it, and then they're going to be doing it there. So yeah, we're doing that, and it's funny because, Ruben used to say all the time, he's like, oh man, he says, this guy is always in court now. And I'm like, why does he keep telling people that? Because again, it's not supposed to be a good thing. Do you remember when Ruben used to say all the time to his parents that only criminals need lawyers? So there's this sense that if you're going to court, if you're being arrested, you're a criminal, but it's not the case. And the cases we get arrested for usually get thrown out or we win them. So I'm like, but it's usually seen as a negative connotation when you get arrested or, when you go to court. But in my case, it's literally for free speech stuff. No, the website is officialstreetpreachers.com. Let's see. But we're still gonna do Wednesday nights here. And again, after we get through some of the people coming on to do the remembering videos about Ruben, we're gonna go back to Ruben's formula for his channel was new stuff and then a teaching and then question and answers. That's the format Ruben wanted. That's the format we stuck with. That's the format we grew this thing with, and that's the format we're gonna continue with. It is the Ruben Israel Live Feed Show hosted by Rich Penkoski. That's what it's still the Ruben Israel Live Show. That's not going to change. I don't see any reason to do that. So, anyway, yeah. He was never supposed to be here thanks to the Catholic Church. His mom was weeks away from it. That is true. If you read that story, that's right. Ruben's mom almost became a nun. And if she had, Ruben would not have been here. So, that's an important, a good story too. Rich, I want to thank you for being a great brother to Ruben. How will SOPA continue with that, Ruben? It feels so unreal. Well, I don't know. John will probably, I don't know. Nobody's really talking about it yet. There's still going to be the SOPA in October, obviously, for the Pride event there. But I don't know. I'm sure John will be talking about that in the future to see what's going to happen with all that. It's not going to go away. One or the other, it's not going to go away. Those conferences were edifying. They sharpened other brothers and sisters. It was an opportunity for a lot of brothers to come together when we don't get to come together a lot. So those were important conferences, and they're going to continue in some way, shape, or form, no matter what. Let's see. His testimony becoming it is incredible. Preaching where his mom was there. Doing it when he said that killed his flesh. Any other questions? Yes, we are still willing to host a SOPA conference, one a year, not two. Two is too much. One a year for the fellowship, but again, we'll talk to John and the other guys about that and see if we can make that happen. But yes, we are still willing to host. When, I don't know, month. We work all that out. But yeah, we are willing to have a fellowship one here on my farm, which we did it twice in Tennessee. That's when everybody brought their wives and their children, and it was a fellowship. It was a SOPA, but fellowship. And we will do that once a year, Lord willing, of course. Yes, the October one is Frank. The October one is in Atlanta. I don't have details on that yet. When it does come out, I will let you know. Yeah, his mom was in the last pew close to the door while he was outside preaching. She could hear him. Well, Matt, that's what he said, yeah. Hey, Maria. Now, you guys looked at Maria. So, Maria, by the way, is somebody that we met at SatanCon in Boston who followed Ruben's channel and was so happy to meet him. Go watch the video, the testimony of Ruben. We were at Maria's house, and she was so gracious to host us and cook for us when we were out there. She actually made me break my diet. Thanks a lot for that, Maria, by the way. Good sister in Christ, took off her shirt, and not her shirt, but the shirt with the ministry that told her she not to stand with us, and stood there out in the rain, the cold, everything. So good sister in Christ, you guys. And we were very blessed to meet her and fellowship with her. And Alan, I don't know where that is. I'm in Stillwater. So I don't know where that is, where you are in relation to me, but we do. The only reason I didn't go to Tulsa Pride is because my lawyer had recommended me not to, because we don't want me to violate or even look like I'm trying to violate that order. Not because I'm afraid to go to jail or anything, but while the case is in appeal at the Supreme Court, if I were to get arrested, because again, I don't even know how 500 feet away is, but if certain people are there and they come near me, I'd be the one to get arrested. So he advised me not to, because an arrest could mess up the appeal, and that appeal is extremely important, because if that appeal doesn't go through, that's the end of free speech. Go on CBN and look for the news, the interview my lawyer did with CBN about it, and he said, they're literally trying to not criminalize, but say the Bible's threatening. So that's how important that case is. And it's worth missing a Pride event or two to make sure that case gets appealed and overturned. Once it does, you're going to see me in Bartlesville quite a bit on the street out there. What's my favorite moment with Ruben? Oh, man. I have a lot of... Oh, man. What's my favorite memory? I have a lot. I can't... My favorite memory. I have a lot. Maybe my wife can, so she's watching. I don't know if she has one or not. I don't know. I can't. I have so... I mean, every memory I have, Ruben, is a good one, I can't say I have a particularly favorite one, because there's a lot. I'm trying to go through in my head all the times we were together. Because, and it's him we talked about, and because Ruben, he always talked about when he was a kid, good parents, good, home life. I'm like, it made me wonder, look back, I don't have any good memories when I was a kid. I don't remember any Christmases when I was a kid. I don't remember any Easters. I don't remember any birthdays. I have no good memories of when I was a kid. Only bad memories of all that stuff there. So, so when Ruben kind of made me realize I didn't have those memories, but one of my favorite moments with Ruben was probably, I would say, because it's the story I tell often, is when we first met, and I was telling his sister about it. About how he just said, "Can you do it for me?" That he was, he would send me video, when he was at my house, he just said, can I do the show for him? Or do, but the other one too was funny, was he would always send me like video clips, like text me or send me to Facebook and say, "Hey, can you post this on my YouTube?" And I'm like, you could do it. And like, he didn't, like, by the time it took him to get that video and send it to me, he could have done it on YouTube himself. I always thought that was funny. but those are, it's those little things there that are, and it's the little joke, like it's the jokes oh my gosh, here's another one. So we were in DC driving, and we were in the van, and we had just left. We were going somewhere, and Social Cross is not ours anymore, Michael. I don't know. I didn't even know that app was still in the App Store. I thought I took it out. But so anyway, we're driving in DC, and we just finished preaching. There was another guy standing with a banner, and Ruben went to a window and was going to say "Amen" or something like that. And the guy screamed and rebuked Ruben, and he was like, "Man, he can't go anywhere." And we just started busting out laughing because Ruben was trying to encourage the guy. The guy looks over at Ruben and starts screaming at him. And we were just like, he was like, "Man, I can't do anything." And so that was that was one of my favorite moments with Ruben too. Yeah, the first citation was a good one too, because I was like, man, I never got, and it wasn't just like a $50. You're talking about like a $500 citation, and I was like, man, Rude, I got a $500 ticket the first time I go preach with this guy, and he thinks it's the greatest thing in the world that happened to me. So I was like, so I have so many fond memories of Ruben when he's at my house, and so when he was at my house, he'd be up before everybody else. And we'd have coffee in the morning, he'd have the coffee going, and he'd be sitting there at the kitchen table reading his Bible at 5 o'clock in the morning before everybody got up. That's what he did. When the kids were around, he would always take time, and the kids talked to him. He would always, he would, "Oh, sure, go away. He was always very patient with the kids. It always, it just, whenever Lily would come on the video chat with him and the kids, he would just light up. You could tell and it's funny, I say that because, Jesus, we all know Jesus loved children. And I can imagine Jesus being the same way when kids would approach him, how Jesus' face would just light up when children would come and want to talk to him and want to be blessed by him and want to be, I can picture it the same way. And I took that as one of those things where, because, kids, especially my kids are very discerning. They know, good from bad when they get around it, generally speaking. They're pretty good with that. So, black coffee in his Bible. Yep. He didn't take care of himself. Ruben took care of himself just fine. Again, everybody who thinks they know Ruben, they don't know. Okay. They don't know the guy at all. Believe me, I've heard all kinds of things already alluding to what happened and whatnot. And nobody knows. I know. John knows. Most of us know. We know what happened. We knew. I actually got a phone call last Saturday, and I couldn't answer it. But usually when Ruben needs something from me, and if I don't answer, he'll just text me and say, "Hey brother, can you call me back, or can you do this, whatever." When I didn't get the text message, I just figured it was a pocket dial. So that's Ruben always said, I knew him pretty well. I think John knew him very well. J.K., David, we knew Ruben pretty, like I could tell you Ruben's just get rid of these guys. I mean, who comes on? I mean, again, these are the same people that claim to be Christian and loving, and they want to trash a man who's been dead a week. I mean, they're just wicked people. And what I should do is I should get those video series that I did years ago from a counselor who he did a thing of red flags of a predator. About people that when they come on you, one of his things was he says is a predator is somebody who comes on somebody else's channel and tries to make it about themselves. They want to talk about themselves. They want to talk about, oh, I know this. It's narcissism. Ruben and Ardo busting my chops with my hair. I don't remember that one. They were busting chops with my hair on live feed. I don't remember. I can't say I remember that one. Yeah, I don't remember that. But I'm sure we could sit here all day. And maybe we'll do one of these days, and we'll just get a bunch of people to come on here together when I get all this internet hardware done, and I can accommodate 6 or 7 people. And just come on and just tell these stories about Ruben, like the funny things that he did and said, and You know, because Ruben, when he laughed, the whole room heard Ruben laugh. Because when he thought something was funny, he laughed. You know, and the car was the best. You know, we always had that joke around the car. So, you know, that might be a good idea in the future. Get around here and just tell those funny stories about Ruben, the things we did when we were preachers and whatnot. I'm sure we'll be talking about that at the funeral, but again, you guys, just to remind you that the funeral is going to be, it is going to be July 18th in Whittier, California. That's all I'm going to say publicly. If you want details, like I said, email or contact, you know, I'm on Facebook under Rich Penkoski. I got 2 profiles. The one with more friends is the one I'm active on. The other one is more of a backup profile. And John Williams, you know, if you're not friends with either one of us, send us a friend request. And if you want information, you can always reach out to us. Also, you can also email me. My email is pastor@wfcchurch.org. Again, we want to make sure that people aren't coming for negative reasons. You know, yeah, Jennifer, he always talked about your testimony. Always talked about it. Even with the teenagers, he always talked about your you were the example of like teenage girls and what you came out of and things like that. So he did brag about your testimony quite a bit. So, but again, if you want to go to the funeral, if you're interested, email me or send me or John a friend request on Facebook or message us for details on that. I do want to say too that his sisters have, I mean, we sent him quite a bit of money. Some people have donated quite a bit, you know, I mean, I say quite a bit for Christians, it's quite a bit for street preachers. But his sister is so grateful and overwhelmed by generosity of Christians because, you know, one of the things they were concerned with was the repast, the venue and not really expensive. The first time they were going was like $40,000, but they were like, no way, we can't do that. But she's overwhelmed and just wants to say thank you to every person. You know, we've had people give $5 for it. We've had people, you know, and up from there. But she wants to express her gratitude to everybody that's given to help because she set up a special fund for Ruben's stuff with that. You know, and she said it is helping a lot. You know, I posted a message on the Facebook from her, on Ruben's Facebook post from her and whatnot. So, I want Rich to answer when Ruben died from kidney failure. His kidneys failed, and then his heart went after that. That's how it happened. But if you do want to help the family, if you haven't given yet, you'd like to. Again, they have authorized us to take up an offering for Ruben, for the funeral, for Colleen, for the venue, for his daughter, his son, whoever needs it. And they have given us the okay. On the bottom of scrolling, if you want to give, you can go to my website, wfcchurch.org/give. You can give a Venmo, which is @Warriors for Christ, or you can go give my Zelle, which is pastor@wfcchurch.org. If you have Zelle, please use that because there's no fees, and then they get everything without any fees attached to it. So, but if you do want to help, you still want to help the family. She said even she said those $5 ones, every bit. I mean, I'm sending her. You know, I sent it to her. The first day I sent her like three, and then you know I was limited, so I had to stop. So I sent her one a day, you know, 2 a day when they come in for her. But you know, but if you do want to help them, the links are down below and in the description. So again, you guys, July 18th is the funeral. Message John Williams or I for details. We need a head count. It's going to be capped at a certain amount. But let's move forward and let's, you know, keep Ruben's wife and children and sisters in prayer. Ruben had a very close family. You guys don't even know how close they were. They were a very, very close family who loved each other very much, and they really are hurting. You know, we, his brothers in the Lord, are hurting, but they're hurting on a whole other level. because Ruben's family was very close. They loved each other. I mean, I'm hearing stories about things, just letting him talk about Ruben and helping, what I can. And they were very close to him. So please keep them in prayer. And just know they are grateful for your prayers. They're thankful for those who have given and are giving, because it was a shock to them. And of course, most people, when they pass away, there's a lot of financial stuff that gets left behind. So, if you haven't yet, down below, if you want to come, if you want to just send a message to the family, you can, I could pass along as well. Obviously, they're concerned with their privacy right now. They're only talking to a limited number of people, on a daily basis like that. So, but thank you guys for joining me tonight. Again, we'll continue on this every Wednesday. Make sure you're subscribed to Ruben's channel, which is youtube.com/@Ruben Israel Official, I think it is. Or just go to YouTube, type in Ruben Israel, and click the channel and subscribe. After we get through a lot of these different things here with the testimonies of Ruben, the chats, the remembering, we're going to go back to Ruben's original format, because that's one thing Ruben was giving you news. What did he say? Giving you news with a street preacher twist. And I can do that on Wednesdays to continue it on for him. So it may not be Ruben. I'm not Ruben. I will never be Ruben. I don't even want to try to be like Ruben. But I will do my best to follow or continue what he started, at least on here. When it comes to our preaching, I will make sure that the events that he preached are all out there, so that people can go and know where and when, and make sure that those events will be covered. And yes, I will be live streaming. His sister did ask me if I could live stream the funeral, and I will be doing that. Yes, we will be live streaming it. So, and I will stream it on Ruben's channel here. So make sure you are subscribed if you can't go. But we will have it live here. So with that said, thank you, everybody. We love you guys. Brother Ruben, we miss Ruben. But again, Ruben taught us all a lot. So let's take what he taught us and let's move forward. Let's not squander the things, the case that he won, to continue allowing us to use those streets without being hassled all the time. We still get hassled sometimes, but not like those guys did back then. Let's not squander this. Let's not let what happens to the work that Ruben did happen to Wesley and Spurgeon and these guys, let the homos take over. Let's not get apathetic or lazy simply because Ruben's not here physically anymore. There are those of us whose lives he did touch. Those are those of us who he taught, and we will continue moving forward. Myself, John Williams, a bunch of us. So, thank you guys for joining me. I will do my best to continue after we do all these testimonies about Ruben to get, your news with a street preacher twist. Nobody's going to do it like Ruben, but I'll try. Love you guys. God bless you guys. I'll see you guys next week here on Ruben's channel, and then I'll see you Thursday night if you follow me into my Worst Christ channel next week, because the homos are coming after all of our channels and every preach. So just so you guys know too, I will not be live streaming preaches on YouTube anymore. I'm only, if I live stream, it's going to be Rumble, or I'm just going to video it and then give you the highlight reels afterwards, because every Christian that's live stream or preach, YouTube has gone after this month. Everybody has had those videos taken down. So we might give highlight reels, but we're going to focus more on Rumble with those kind of things and YouTube with that. So if you want to see those events, go to Rumble. My Rumble is rumble.com/c/Warriors for Christ. Make sure you follow me there. I do have the video in Merlot. I will be uploading another video of the highlights, but that's kind of how I'm going to do things moving forward as well. I'm not going to risk Ruben's channel here by posting those videos. We're going to do, like I said, the highlights, the clips, like Ruben did. If anything, I want to be careful. I don't want to get any strikes. He's never had a strike in his channel. So we don't want to lose. We know there's going to be a day we all lose social media, but we don't want to be the cause of it now. So we want to be more careful with this. So love you guys. God bless you guys. I'll see you guys next week.
Truth is truth. Lies are lies. God don't take no alibis. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Don't go walking where you don't belong. To be undecided is to be decided against the Lord who wants your heart. He heals the sick and the brokenhearted, a life forever in His love.